number of our members here, um, which is okay. It just won't go down as any space where we can really come to consensus. And we do have a couple of things to come to consensus on, particularly making a decision around when we're going to hold our SLT training, and we'll talk a little bit about that shortly. I did message Lamar and Rob to see if they would be able to join, and we'll see if they're able to at some point today. But welcome. We do have just a brief little intro, because I see is only 3 of our regular members on here, and one that's going to be new to the fund. So I'd like to welcome Eden Rubenstein, who is here as our new CEC president. So welcome, Eden. We're happy that you're able to join us today and be part of your first DLT, although this one seems like it will be an abridged one because we're missing a number of members today. So but I will kind of table the minutes for now, just because we do not have quorum at this time. But we can certainly get going and engaging in conversation around where we are and where we want to go for next school year. So I will briefly share our presentation. Eden, this will look familiar to you because it's similar to CEC report, but I will share my screen and we'll kind of go through the superintendent's report, and then Gus, anything that you want to share, and Eden, anything that you would like to share as well. And we'll do this, in a kind of an abridged fashion, just given the fact that you've already seen this, Eden. So really quickly, welcome. We are now in our 3rd week of the summer, which is hard to believe. Hey, Gus, 3rd week of the summer, hard to believe. We are moving forward with our summer rising, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. Going to give you guys some updates and reminders, some highlights and celebrations from the year, and then just talking about the state of where we are as a district to this point, and what we're thinking about moving forward into the start of September. So just summarizing, up and running across 11 of our sites, over 3,000 kids across grades K through 8 are participating. We are using the NSSI curriculum, which is for ELA and mathematics, and we're using the central curriculum for science and social studies for our kids in grade 8. K-5 program goes through August 16th. 6 to 8 goes through August 9th. August 9th is the final day for the Department of Education part of the program for both of those groups. Couple of things that we're adding, and Eden, thank you so much for the picture. We've added it to our Google form, but this is just a small little thing that we're doing to kind of promote reading over the summer. And it's nurture your roots with summer reading. So what we've asked our families to do, we've sent out a blast across our schools, and we've gotten a number of entries to this point, which I'm excited about. We're going to continue to encourage our families to get their kids reading. But we've asked our community to send in an image of their children reading, or them reading with their children, so that they can enter a raffle by the end of the summer. And I'll be doing a little bit of hand delivering of the raffle winners at the start of the school year, for doing what they can to keep their minds ready for the start of September by engaging in reading of books. So this is going pretty well so far. Excited about that. We have reminded our community about this First in Math program. This is available to all of our kids. There is only a week remaining in access to this, as it goes through July 31st, excuse me, for all of our kids using the Clever platform. It's a free access to math program. So we have shared that widely. We hope that our families are participating in that as well. Back to school literacy events. We intend on doing 3 of these. This is tentative, as we do have to make sure we can get licensing for the Right to Read video. What we do intend to do on Monday, August 5th, Thursday, August 8th, and Thursday, August 15th is do a screening of the Right to Read video, followed by kind of workshop-y type of experiences for our families so they get an idea of how they can help their kids with phonics. This is primarily for kids in K to 2. And then will be a little bit of a book giveaway as well. So the families can leave with not only an understanding of the importance of the direction we're going in within reading, but also an opportunity to learn a little bit how they can help at home, and then have books that are associated with that to read with their children. So we're really excited about this. We are connecting this with our local elected officials who will be help supporting this, including the NAACP, who will be joining me particularly for Q499 and their experience there with Assemblymember Berger. So we're excited about that and creating these partnerships to really build on our work as a district. So more to come on this. Hopefully we have this solidified within the next couple of days, and then we will be sharing widely with all of our communities. The goal is to have it in 3 different sections of our district: the north, the central, and the south side of our district community. Welcome Lamar and Eduardo, so that we have opportunity for our community members from across the district to participate. The invitations will be limited though, because it's based on auditorium space. Based on how this goes, it may open up the doors to do this more frequently. And it will also serve as a model for our buildings to do and participate with on their own. So more to follow on this, but we are excited about the opportunity to partner with our local elected officials, as well as our schools, staff, and families. Just a quick little shout out, the CEC annual award ceremony was a big success. So thanks so much to the CEC, and congrats to all of our award winners for that evening. It was very well done, and I thought really exciting event for our community. So big shout out for that. Congrats to all of our graduates. Really excited for our middle schoolers heading into high school and our elementary schoolers heading into middle school. Really excited for them, and for all of our pre-Kers going into our elementary school setting, excited for them as well. Just getting ready for the start of the year. September 2nd, Labor Day, schools will be closed. Tuesday, September 3rd, I will be at the Kappa annual back to school event. They do host it every year at the Queens Public Library. I will be sharing a little bit around our district goals and where we're heading into for the start of the 24-25 school year. First day of school is Thursday, September 5th. World Literacy Day is September 8th. And our first day of National Hispanic Heritage Month is September 15th. Now, this is just something that I do want to make sure that we touch base on, and this is the DLT subcommittee recommendation. Eden, this will be a little bit new to you. You've probably heard it during CEC though. In terms of language access, we established 2 recommendation documents. One around making sure that that all SLTs engage in an analysis and an inventory using that language access rubric, and a parent survey to make sure that our over-the-phone interpretation, in-person interpretation, online interpretation, and document translation is up to par, and if not, making adjustments to practices to ensure that families have outreach. And then just some recommendation tools in terms of parent engagement for all of our families, for SLTs to review and engage in that process. So what I wanted to come to consensus on with this particular component was the time frame from which we would ask SLTs to really engage in this work. I was thinking by the end of October, or all SLTs should have engaged in the use of this rubric to do an inventory of what their current practices are, to make sure that we're doing all that we can to ensure that families that speak language other than English have access. Any comments on that? Gus, any thoughts? I don't know if you froze or I froze. Can you guys hear me? Tracy, can you hear me? Yeah.
You're good,
Okay.
Dr. Mike.
Okay, good.
We
So,
can hear you.
so we'll kind of table this, but I am thinking October. Maybe we come to an agreement in August so that all schools are ready to go for the start of the school year with both of these particular tools. Eduardo, for high schools, certainly something that we're recommending. Whether or not Dr. Tu is interested in spreading this kind of widely um, across all the high schools, whether they're D25 or outside of D25. I know that you guys engage in multiple DLTs, so it's not just this one, but it is something that we're recommending all of our elementary and middle schools to do to make sure that our parents are communicated with. So kind of more to follow on that. All students learn to read well, priority one. Next year, we're going to be paying a lot of attention to decodable text so that our kids from learning in foundations have a real opportunity to practice those skills. Priority one is really built around K-2. We have seen a number of things that we do want to celebrate. The implementation of foundations integrity is something that has been pretty common, is now common across all of our schools. All of our elementary schools, for that matter, are using Heggerty and Foundations for instruction. We've done a lot of work to build practice across our schools in these two programs. Now it's really around kind of, incorporating that space of using those decodable texts as a means of practice. This year, in terms of our goals, we did not meet, although we made progress, we did not meet our expectations of 5%. For our all students or Hispanic subgroups. We did meet for our Black learners in D25. So there's a lot more work that we do need to do with this particular subgroup of students. I'm not going to go over each of these graphs. What you do want to notice, though, is that we see fewer kids that are well below benchmark and more kids that are on or above benchmark than from the start of the school year. Which is great, but at the same time, there are still too many children that are not meeting expectations. So part of our priority going into next school year will be to continue to bolster this work for all of our kids, continue and sustain work for our Hispanic learners. The group that is one that we're going to spend a lot of time focused on, which connects with our Hispanic learners, are our Ls. We have a significant number of Ls in our district. And a significant portion of our kids that are currently well below or below benchmark are also our English language learners. So we do have a lot more work to do there to bring our kids up to speed. Research does indicate that it's 3 to 5 years for our kids to become proficient in the English language, but we do need to do that and get them proficient by the time they're in third grade, especially for our early childhood kids. They learn language a lot faster than our kids in the upper grades. So we do want to make sure that we're making greater strides than what we've been able to make thus far, even though we have done well in general for our Ls. Goals moving into next year, again, will be continued focus on Heggerty Foundations, but also how that connects to Acadience, the Acadience assessment, and how we're using that data to make sure we're making good choices for our kids. So that's going to be a real big push for us for priority one. Priority three, this is all around HMH implementation. We're going to be going into year 2 of HMH implementation, which is really super important for us as we've done a lot of learning in 23-24. We want to take that learning from 23-24 and really build on our curricular work in 24-25 with a really big focus on explicit instruction. You'll hear more about that in a minute. Similar to our work with K-2, we did not meet expectations of 5% for our all students or our Hispanic learners. When it comes to iReady, we will see how that translates into the state assessment, which we hope to get back sometime in early fall. Not sure when they're going to release it, but it looks like it's going to be later towards the start of the school year. Hoping to get it sooner, but that's what it looks like right now. We did meet for our Black learners, similar to our Acadience assessment, but you will notice that there's also plenty of room for us to grow with this particular work. Last year, we were at around this 52-ish% performance, and we ended our iReady assessment data translated into around 63% of our kids performing on or above grade level when it came to the state assessment. We'll see if the same pattern exists here going into this year's state exam results. So more to follow on this when state assessment data comes out. Similar patterns you'll notice here from beginning of the year, which is in green, to blue, which is the end of the year. You'll see a significant change in performance and reduction in number of kids that are multiple grade levels below standard, that are either one grade level below or have moved to be on or above by the end of the school year. That pattern exists across our subgroups. But there's still a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done. And most significantly, as I mentioned to you, are our L's in grades 3 through 8. You'll see it's a very big difference between our early childhood performance and our kids that are in the grades 3 and above, where the performance really does take a different turn. So we do need to continue to focus on this, and that's going to be a large part of our work moving into September of this school year. So again, what you'll find here is comprehension consistently problematic. 50% of our kids performing one or more grade levels below in certain areas, in certain grade levels when it comes to reading comprehension as per iReady. So a lot more to do inside of this work, particularly with implementation of HMH moving into next school year. Now, what does that mean for us into next school year? Engaging in decodable text that we've already talked about, use of knowledge map, but this particular one is going to be an emphasis, use of explicit instructional modeling in the I do, we do, you do approach. That is something that we have been working on this past school year. We're going to be paying a lot more attention to it in 24-25, and daily independent reading practice with controlled text, so the kids are able to practice. Something that we've noticed that we need to do a better job of is not only model, but make sure that we have kids in books that will allow them to practice the skills that they've learned, during class, but also as well as at home. We have established a literacy plan, a literacy newsletter at the district level, so that our staff and community are aware of what's going on. We're going to continue to enhance this as the year goes on into 24-25. Similarly, for 6 through 8, you'll notice here, explicit instruction will be a mindset moving forward, not only for ELA, but also in science, social studies, mathematics. You'll see in a moment is going to be a little bit different for our goal setting going into the school year. But this is going to be a big push for us going in through September. Is this, getting really, really good at the way that we're explicitly teaching our children here in D25. Goals will include focus walls, anchor charts, evidence of student work, organized classroom libraries, meeting areas, and so on. Also with our L's, we will be engaging in a lot of programming work. So Tracy from our team, Michelle and Rick, Debbie are all focused on how we're using the 180 minutes of standalone time for our L learners, how are we building language and foundational skills for our beginning L's, particularly those in grades 3 through 8, as language becomes a little bit more difficult to adopt when our kids start getting older. And this year we had 1,700 children that were in grades 3 through 8 that were within their first 2 years of service, which means there's a lot of language that we have to develop for them as they're coming into our schools absent the English language. So we have a lot of work there that we do need to continue to emphasize for our teachers, for our L learners. And one of the other things that we're going to be implementing as part of a pilot for our 6th grade is a Translate program. This was developed by Dr. Emily Phillips Galloway. She is a co-author of a text that we've used in the past of advanced literacies. And, her work is really focused primarily on building language for our L's. So we will be piloting this work for our entering and emerging students in our middle school. And we're monitoring the progress of that as the year goes on to ensure that our kids have the access they need to language. Real focus on building content language, content language, for all grade levels, building that background knowledge for our kids, as well as vocabulary, particularly for our integrated L supports. A big emphasis will be in these two our entering and emerging, as well as our transitioning expanding kids this school year. Mathematics, we are in a similar space as we were last year. We did grow by about 2% comparatively speaking to the previous year. But these percentage performances, particularly for our subgroups, is not enough. We have to do better than this. 34% at the end of an iReady year and 31% for our Black learners at the end of the year is not enough. We have to do better. We're going to continue to emphasize the work in mathematics. Part of this will be engaging our DLT, as well as our community at large in looking at a new program, district-wide program going into the 25-26 school year. This year will be about exploring programs, i.e. illustrative mathematics, Amplify, which is similar to illustrative, and iReady mathematics as well. There'll be 3 programs that we have an opportunity to look at. We will bring in each of the programs for the DLT to review, and then offer some suggestions and recommendations. So we'll be talking about this throughout the school year while we start learning a little bit more about them. Currently, many of our schools use Envisions, certainly at the elementary school level. And our middle schools use a variety of different programs, which is why it's important that we come to one singular one, a common program, so that we can monitor and support more appropriately as the year goes on. But you're going to see data that looks, again, similar from the beginning of the year to where we are at the end. It looks good, right? You look at a bar graph that goes from 14 to 41, that looks really good. But we have a lot of kids here that are still performing below grade level, and we have to do a better job of reaching and meeting those needs for sure. So more to follow on that. The idea around mathematics shifts the mindset from the idea of the I do, we do, you do, to the you do, we do, I do type of an approach, where it's a lot about kids starting with the sense making, where they're able to learn through a math problem, show their thinking, and then it's part of the teacher looking at how our kids are engaging in those problems to start building some of that conceptual understanding. So it's a little bit of a different, not a little bit, it is a different mindset. It flips the idea from the way that we learn reading to the way that we learn mathematics, are 2 different approaches, so that our kids can make some sense out of the math. And this is something we're going to be helping build our parent understanding and parent knowledge on, has been part of the mindset over the years, but still one that we tend to struggle with as adults, because we didn't necessarily learn in the same way that our kids are learning. So more on that, and more supports will be made available as the year goes on. So what does this translate into? It translates into our DCEP goals. We have made a Padlet available for our community, and I encourage you guys to do this as well, to pop into this Padlet. We have done it with our staff, with our district staff, and we have opened this one up to our community for public feedback, to get data feedback on our goals and what our community thinks. So we'll be keeping this open through October, so that we can make any adjustments that our community believes that we need to make. I do offer that opportunity for our DLT to do as well. So as I share these goals now, and they should not be new, because we've shared them at CEC, we've shared them at previous DLTs. But the goal, as I've already mentioned from a little bit earlier when I shared the data, our goal for priority 1 is really to use that decodable text to improve outcomes for our learners. Now, when folks say, well, Mike, why do you have so many subgroups listed here? They're listed, 1, because these are our target groups across the district, and it gives opportunities for our schools to really look at their own data to say, you know what, for our school, our Hispanic learners are performing really well, but our students with disabilities are not. And I want to pay attention, careful attention to them. It gives a broad range for our schools across the district community to identify the ones that the students, particular in their schools, that need more emphasis. So leaving it open allows our schools to really engage with what makes the most sense for them as a individual school. So for us, strategic use of decodable text will be an emphasis to build those foundational reading skills for our kids, with the goal of improving by 5% for all students and 10% within our subgroups. And this is important because we need to raise the bar. You might say, well, Mike, we didn't meet the lower bar. Why are we raising it? Because we want to raise expectations. We have to raise expectations across our schools so that we are striving for improvement for all of our groups in District 25. Priority 2, what we have noticed is that student-to-student relationships, particularly in our middle school, need to improve. Kids indicate in their feedback that the relationships with their peers can be better. So we're going to attend to that through the continued implementation of MindUp, but also engaging our kids in, social action types of projects. When we see the data, it says that our kids aren't getting along. What do we do about that as a student body? So this ties in our Civics for All work that we've been attending to as a district community. So the goal will be that we are working with our kids, promoting that student voice where they become the problem solvers within their own schools. So that's what the intent is for this goal. Explicit instruction, as I mentioned before, will be priority 3 around this goal. And similarly, to reduce that achievement gap by building our Hispanic, Black student with disability and L performance across our buildings, particularly through the implementation of HMH. Mathematics, focus on math routines and student discourse using the 5 mathematical practices. That you will learn more on. We'll be offering a lot more space for parent engagement opportunities. We started that off in March with some of our family math events. We will be doing more of those as the school year goes on, but with the intent of improving outcomes for our learners across grade levels. And then lastly, just around parent engagement, that's one of the reasons why we're making those recommendations for DLT, to really promote that language access, improving as well in terms of making sure that parents understand progress by improving school survey data by a minimum of 3% this school year, and implementing quarterly family-based events across all of our schools, as well as the district is where we're looking right now in terms of improving parent engagement opportunities. And, I look at it as the DLT serving as a model for what our schools can do. So the things that we implement, we hope that they serve as a space for our schools to then take them and do them on their own in their own buildings, which can be recommendations that we make as a DLT for SLTs to think about in their own buildings. And lastly, chronic absenteeism. We do want to continue to build on this. And something that I want you guys to see that we're going to ask all of our schools to also do is to really take a look at the beginning of the school year and outreach to all of our K-2 families before the school year starts, that we engage in conversations with those families in particular. This year, 27% of our kindergartens were chronically absent. Just want that to just linger for everyone for a second. 670 children of 2004, almost 2,500 children were deemed chronically absent. 546 of our first graders, which will now be our second graders, were chronically absent. If we're really going to make sure that all of our kids are reading with proficiency, they need to be in school. And we have to do a better job of connecting with our families in order to make sure that that happens. So one of the things that I'm going to recommend that all of our buildings do is do early outreach to all of our buildings. And where did I put that? Put that somewhere in this presentation somewhere. But this is a chronic absenteeism presentation that I'm going to share with all of our schools, that it's a recommendation that all of our buildings connect with our kids early. making sure that all of our families know the importance of being in school every day. So this is just kind of the broad overview. We'll dig more deeply into this when we have more of our members here in August. But that's a general overview of where we are at the district level. And I know from feedback from the CEC, they did want to hear more about mathematics. They wanted to get more feedback around what math will look like moving into the start of the school year. So we'll be offering more opportunities for that as the year goes on for the CEC, as well as the community at large. But I'm going to stop sharing there. I know we said a lot in like 20 minutes or so. But does anyone have any quick comments just in this small group that we have today around what I just shared with the superintendent report? No comments? Anything that you're thinking about?
Can you hear me, Mike? Dr.
Yeah, I
Mike?
can hear you, Lamar. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I just wanted to touch on the portion on the chronically absent numbers, which I do think is an alarm, a sounding alarm moment. I think it's something that we do have to really hone in on, particularly because of the age of the children involved. You don't want to get into a habit, kindergarten and first grade, of what those numbers are now, and then think about what that could translate into sixth, seventh, eighth grade. And that's how I look at it. But what I want to say is, in our schools, as you're presenting this, as we're having the conversations, is there going to be there's a recommendation to go a certain route, but is there also a recommendation as to what the outreach looks like, and can it go across the board uniformly? Right. I think that's where some schools say, well, the staff members, classroom teachers may have to do X, Y, Z. And then some other schools may say, well, the secretaries have to do it. And then some other schools may say, if they have an attendance teacher, well, the attendance teacher would have to. So the same message, yes, we're on the same page that the message has to be sent. But I think that if possible, there may be a sense of uniformity, I think, going forward across the district. So I just wanted to put that out there and see what that sounds like to the rest of
Yeah,
us.
yeah. Listen, we can make some recommendations from DLT to SLTs, Lamar, that these are the things that we think would be appropriate. And I think your feedback in that space would be really, really helpful in terms of what is that relationship between teacher and student that is absent. What is that relationship between case team and family? What can that look like? Because we have seen some successes, and and even in our school's best efforts, Lamar, we still see, a lot of children that have been targeted that just don't budge. So I think the early outreach, I think will be supportive of that. The presentation that we have here will be recommended that all schools implement that before the start of the year. But I don't disagree that it might be something that we need to take a much more careful look at. What does that look like across our groups? Because one of the things that will be different is that we will have 4 attendance teachers that are now under my purview, that under my supervision, so to speak, to ensure that we're providing the supports that are necessary. So between myself, Austin, who's here, Beverly, who's on, and myself, we're going to be meeting routinely to kind of talk through what those next steps could be, for our schools, the things that have worked, the things that haven't worked. Because we've done a lot of things from, early morning programs, after school type of enrichment programs, whether they're basketball or soccer or arts and crafts and whatnot. So some of them have worked, some of them not as much. So we have to do a lot more outreach, no doubt. But I like the recommendation, Lamar. Any other comments? Gus, Eden, anything you're thinking?
I'm good.
Okay, cool. All right, did I stop sharing? Okay, let me just bring up the agenda. I'm not sure if, Gus, can you hear me? I'm not sure if you're there or not.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
perfect.
We can hear you.
So we did a brief review of the DCEP goals. I am in process, just so that everyone knows, of completing the actual template. That is underway. That is due by the within the next couple of days, right, Gus?
It is due on the 31st.
Yeah. So by next week, all of that will be completed. That is already underway. I've been entering information into the template. I will put that up in our DLT folder that we have here for all of you guys to have access to. All of you should have access to this folder already. Eden, we have added you too. We'll make sure that you have the appropriate. You should have the links already. You get it right from
Yeah, I was
the.
able to get him in.
Okay,
I was able to
perfect.
open it all.
Perfect. Right from the DLT site there. But today, welcome our new members. Right now, we only have one. There will be an imagined election for our high school president's council president to participate in that work as well. The subcommittee work I've already mentioned. We'll have to reconnect on that in August just to make sure that we can come up with the time frame for when we're going to ask our SLTs to participate in that work, as well as something that Gus will mention too, the SLT training timeline. Momentarily we can talk a little bit about that. I would like to hold that in August as well, in October as well. I do want to have all of our members here. We do not have CSA represented. President's Council is not represented right now, and DC 37 is not here either. So I do want to make sure that all of our folks are present for that, for our August meeting, so that we can come to consensus on those dates. But Gus, you want to talk a little bit about just the reminders on status report for CEPs?
I'll go over my various items. First of all, I want to congratulate and thank you for a very comprehensive presentation, Dr. Mike. And I have to congratulate the district. You are the only district in all of Queens North that has completed all of the CEP submissions and all of the attestations. So congratulations to you. And that I'm pretty sure you're one of the few districts in the entire city who has done that as well. Now, the superintendents have until July 26th to certify. So I'm confident that your record will be intact and that you'll be either the first or one of the first to certify all of those CEPs as well. Now, I've given everyone the timeline. Just to remind everybody, July and August, the district team and whoever they want in Central to chime in as well, will be providing feedback. I've sent out a suggested CEP review process, which the district can use. I've also sent to the district a rubric and a comment bank for reviewing the CEPs. That again, these are just resources, ladies and gentlemen, that are available electronically that the district team can utilize for providing feedback on the CEP to our school. And I'm confident that all the schools will receive their feedback by September 5th. October 25th is the revision and finalized submit deadline for schools. And then they'll begin uploading their SLT signature pages in November 22nd. And then superintendents are supposed to approve all of the CEPs by December 6th. So I'm sure you'll continue your excellent following the timeline and get all of this done by the various dates. In the meantime, if anyone from any school needs any assistance, I get emails from schools for technical support. Either they can't get it to iPlan or there's some other issue, and I respond. Uh, I will be leaving for Europe tomorrow, so I will be gone for 3 weeks. I will get emails, but it's an 8-hour time difference. So um, uh, Matthews Rillick, who many of you already know, will be filling in for me during the time that I'm out. And I like to call him Mr. iPlan. So we couldn't be in better hands because he and Alice Rulin are the iPlan people who handle all of the issues. So I'm leaving you in very good hands. If any issues come up, I'm confident that they will solve them. So that's on the CP front, and on in terms of related training. Um, uh, as Mike has said, it's a good idea to do the training in October, but I also want to let you know that, and I don't have the date. I want to say the middle of September, but it's my understanding that a citywide training for all SLTs will be held in September. I believe they usually hold it in Brooklyn. I'm waiting for all the details. I may or may not be able to be there, but there will be an invite for everyone, and SLT training will be provided for everyone that can come. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't hold yours in October. I'm just letting you know that there's that extra layer of support citywide that I understand that my office, in conjunction with the Chancellor's office, will be holding for SLTs in, I believe, mid-September. Although, I have to check on the date, and more information on that will be forthcoming as we move forward.
Is it going to be
Um,
hybrid, Gus, or is it going to be just in person?
It's going to be in person. It's only in person. Um, and I believe we did something similar last year. So we've done it many years. I don't want During the COVID years we did not do it, but it's nothing new. We've done it
Yep.
in the past several times, and it does have also a Title I focus as well, because I've done the citywide training in the past for uh, um, uh, the citywide Title I training. But like President Biden, I'm going to pass the baton, and I think someone else will probably do that Title I citywide training. So since I mentioned Title I also want to remind all of our schools, and that's something that going forward we have to keep up on, and it's a new process. Um, all the schools have not been putting in their PAC information, their monthly PAC information into iPlan, and SLT monthly information as well. Some have, some haven't. There are a handful of schools in District 25 that were targeted by Central. I know that they have done it. And again, I want to congratulate the principals. I want to say that there were five. There were either four or five that were required to do that, that Central was following. But it is a citywide requirement starting in April. So that's something that we need to reinforce in terms of all of our trainings and the principals meetings going forward. And there'll be a learning curve, but again, I'm confident that you'll be one of the first districts to have everything complete. And the whole reason for it is that state ed monitors all of this, and this simplifies being in compliance with state ed because the stuff is just conveniently there in iPlan. And I will be back in August 14th, and I expect that Central will be monitoring me in terms of your DLT information. So I'll have to do my own cleanup and make sure that I've got everything into the DCP. It's the same system, ladies and gentlemen. It has to be dragged and dropped on a monthly basis into iPlan for the DLT website, just like the schools are doing in the CEP website. So I'll be taking that along with the usual excellent support that I received from the district and especially from Louis Lotito, who is a godsend when it comes to technology and helping me solve various and sundry issues. So the timeline is that by August 30th, the central team, July 31st, the superintendent will complete and put in the completed drafts of DCP for central review. And like last year, central review and the district team will provide feedback. I will not be doing it. It'll be probably Matt Zvillick who will provide feedback from my team on your DCP. And again, he's very familiar with everything, so I'm leaving you in good hands. By August 30th, you will get all of that feedback back. Again, when I'm back, if there's anything that I need to do, I will do it. And you will uh, uh, start the process of finalizing it in September with the SLT. Actually, it's by September 6th that superintendents receive feedback. So there's a little bit of more time than August 30th. And it's supposed to be reviewed and signed off on by November 27th. And like the CPs, by December, it's supposed to be finalized. That's the timeline as we have it right now. I've also provided the district, like I did all of the districts, with a DCP self-assessment and goal-setting worksheet that the district has. You have a copy of it as well. The superintendent has to do that self-assessment. And again, I'm confident that you'll meet all the deadlines. And that basically is all I have to say in terms of both the CEP and the DCEP. Are there any, and it's the same for the high schools. It's the same process, and the high schools will be following the same timeline. And like my districts, the high schools also are excellent in meeting all deadlines and doing everything that they're supposed to um, uh, in a timely fashion. Any questions or comments on anything that I said?
No, I think I appreciate the deadline reminders, Gus. It's actually on my little post-it that I left myself on Friday to make sure that I had all of
Okay.
those things taken
And,
care of.
and you have everything
So,
electronically.
yep.
And I want to wish everyone a good summer. And I hope you all get some vacation time yourselves. I'll see you in mid August. And I'm going to be uh, uh, beginning, I believe, my 23rd year or thereabouts in supporting District 25 come September, which is an honor and a pleasure.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Gus. Thanks so much. High school president, high school superintendent report. Eduardo, you have anything to report on today?
Yes, so we are also in the process of completing our DCEP. This for the school year 24-25, we're doing them by functional area. So each team member submitted their functional area template, identifying the district goal that they'll be aligning with, identifying one system-wide priority and its components that you are aligning your goals with, and creating a SMART goal for your functional area. So right now, everything has been submitted to our executive director. For our next meeting, I'll have a more precise presentation as to where we are in terms of our district-wide goals. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Eduardo. Eden, anything that you want to share out from CEC?
Sorry, my speaker was acting up. No, I don't have anything right now. We're gonna have some stuff next month with our meeting, and then I'll update everyone.
Perfect. There we do have some student applications for CEC that I do have to go through. I know we have one, but I understand that maybe another one or two that have applied. As soon as I get that batch from FACE, I'll be doing engaging in the interview process. One of the things that I did like was that our last year CEC student representative actually recommended one of her peers, which I thought was really, really cool. You know, so we'll be looking to go through that process relatively quickly, you know, to make sure that we have that student rep as well. Lamar, you have anything? I know that you're in transit too, Lamar, so I appreciate you being on. But do you have anything from UFT?
Nothing to share today. No.
Okay. So, and I know DC 37 is not able to join, neither is CSA. It's tough over the summer as folks are on vacation, have their vacation schedules and such. So it's difficult to organize, but I'm glad we were at least able to touch base. We'll review our June minutes when we get to the August meeting. Most folks should be back by that point. And, you know, we'll be able to do some of our regular business as a collective group. If provided there's no new business, we can adjourn this meeting, and then the August meeting we'll decide on who's going to kind of serve as the chairperson for the DLT moving into the start of the school year. You know, we'll offer that opportunity to anyone from the DLT that wishes to do so. I will always certainly volunteer myself, but it does not necessarily have to be me, as you guys all know. But we'll go through that process in August when everyone is back. Provided there is no new business, we can bring this meeting to a close. And because we don't have the quorum right now, it's not necessarily an official close to this. But other than that, I wish everyone an amazing rest of your summer. We will be here planning, no doubt, for the remainder of July and through August to make sure that we're good and ready for the start of the school year. I will be meeting with principals on Wednesday to really talk about making sure that the beginning of the school year is up and exciting and ready to go for our kids, to welcome them back in what I believe will be a blink. And we will be talking about how September worked out for our kids in our community. That's how quickly things seem to be going these days. So provided there's no new business, any new business that we need to be talking about? Provided no new business, I bring this to a close, and I will be sharing out, hopefully before the end of the day, and maybe if not today, tomorrow, about the right to read screenings and those reading events that we do have scheduled for the first couple of weeks of August. Hoping to square all of that away today or tomorrow so that our communities can participate. Other than that, guys, have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Hi,
Thanks, Dr. Mike.
You got it. Be good, guys.